Hi, I'm Daniel Housley. I'm a fashion photographer and I primarily shoot quite a lot of culture and identity. I'm trying to veer towards that with my photography. I grew up in Northwest London to a Chinese mum and a British dad. So culture and identity are quite big, important themes in my life, and that have affected me growing up. I want to include this in my work, including other things as well. I like to work with brands. A lot of LGBTQ+ communities, I think this is important. So I think my favorite project would be, it was about a year, just over a year ago, and it was actually my final project for TPF. It was called Diaspora, and it was all about capturing the Chinese diaspora through a mixture of Western and Chinese imagery. So I worked with like a wonderful team, I had beautiful models. One of them was actually one of my friends from home. And yeah, it just created gorgeous visuals, and I think it's important to kind of honor this part of my identity, which is why the project was so personal to me. Also growing up, I was often very embarrassed about my Chinese heritage, so I think this is kind of like a love letter towards it, and that's what makes me very proud and happy of this project. So firstly, I'd say one of my biggest inspirations is actually not a photographer, and it's actually Hong Kong film director Wong Kar-wai. His movies often use a lot of like saturated, beautiful, dreamy visuals, and it really draws me in. And I've always loved them. They're quite abstract and a bit weird. I also really love Nan Goldin. She released a series of photos called The Ballad of Sexual Dependency, and it's really intimate and it really captures the essence of her subjects. Some of them were self-portraits in like trying times, and I think it's really important that we get to see people in vulnerable positions, and I think it was really beautiful. Lastly, my favorite photographer at the moment is Leslie Zhang. He's a Chinese fashion photographer, but his photos just always really capture me. They're gorgeous, dreamy, they use beautiful big sets, and sometimes they're just like close-up portraits, quite simple ones, but I'm always really drawn into his work and it inspires me a lot. My process has changed quite a lot over the past few years, but I'd say one of the main things that have changed is I've tried to slow things down a lot more. So I've been shooting a lot more with film, and I think with this, it's made me think more about the shot before I've actually taken it. And you have like a limited amount of shots. Also, with culture and heritage, I think one thing that's very important is if you think about things that stand out and are strong in your culture. For example, colors, like Chinese red is such a very strong, impactful color. Or textures, styling, if you have a good stylist, I'd make sure that they can reflect your ideas onto the clothes. Models, poses, I think it's honestly the team coming together and understanding your vision. And I think that's what's really important if you want to reflect something in particular. So cityscape photography started when I was 16. I was in Hong Kong, and my cousins, with a lot of their photographer friends, they went to some rooftops and they took me. And this was such a crazy time for me. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I was absolutely loving the heights, the fear factor. So as soon as I went back to London, I started doing it constantly. I met a whole load of people, many of which I'm still friends with to this day. But a lot of them were also photographers or videographers, so it was nice finally finding other creatives and being in that sort of environment. Regarding my mental health, during this period it wasn't that good, but I think going on roofs and exploring tunnels was definitely helpful, as it kind of took me out of the reality of the situation. Generally, I think photography has a really good impact on my mental health. It inspires me all the time. It makes me stay creative and do things that I enjoy. It can be stressful, but I think it's so worth it, and I would never change it for the world. So I'm currently working at Spring Studios as a studio coordinator, and I also freelance on the side. TPF, yeah, the foundation has completely changed everything for me. I mean, the reason I'm at this job is actually because of a session that we had whilst I was on the course with Chantal King, and she went through so much. And every single session I had, and every time I was there, it was so helpful. The support, talking about the support, I mean, it wasn't just during the course, it goes on way after. One thing about the Photography Foundation is they really care about their alumni, and they send us specific newsletters like catered to us all the time. Like, we're always involved in activities, and I feel like I've never left, and it's great. Yeah, I really have zero regrets about joining this course, and it's been the best thing to happen to me in a long time.